Chapter 3 Living Alone. After having reunited with his sister Inari, Victor returned to St. Nicholas, enlightener of the Kitsune clan monastery, where he first learned the ways of life in the Middle Ages. But upon returning to the monastery of his youth, from so many centuries ago, his heart was heavy upon seeing it. There was no one left but himself. His abbot had reposed more than a century ago. He had no spiritual father to guide him anymore, and there were no more brothers alongside him. There were only the statues and icons of his reposed spiritual children to comfort him, as the stone walls fell into disrepair over the many decades of abandonment. Even the paint and adornments of the icons and statues began to fade and flake away with no one to care for them. Even though Victor had been renowned across many nations for his great feats, in his heart, it felt as nothing. Though he had destroyed the heresies of the arch-heresiarchs Corvin Several and Apollonius, he felt as if though he had not achieved anything. Even though he single-handedly destroyed the idolatry of Okami Inari and the debauchery of her cult of avarice for centuries, with only his asceticism and generosity, he felt as a heathen. And despite being one of the most righteous men to ever live in his clan, he felt as the greatest of all sinners. And when he had entered the once beautiful sanctuary, he fell down before the tattered image of Christ and the image of the saints surrounding him. He lied there, feeling unworthy to even face the image of Christ at the center of the sanctuary, and prayed as tears flowed from his fluorescent cyan eyes. Lord, have mercy on me, a sinner. I have nothing to show of my own self that is of anything good. All my works are corrupt, and my sin is forever before me. I am not even worthy to be your slave. But in your goodness and mercy, a true sacrifice is a broken and contrite heart. Wherefore blot out my sins and transgressions and remember them no more. For you are a good God who loves mankind. I ask not for comfort, nor for a cross, but I only ask that I fulfill your will on earth as it is in heaven. I ask your intercession, because I cannot complete this task you have set before me by my own strength. Lord have mercy, Lord have mercy, Lord have mercy. Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison. Folks apatri ke you ke agiobne mati, kenin ke tu amen. Victor then remained making prostrations and long prayer rules, till one of his only living spiritual children came to the monastery. But he wasn't there to see Victor because he didn't know Victor had returned to the Kitsune clan. All he knew was he was tired of seeing the place that changed his life for the better fall into such a sad state. So, Todd Reddington purchased some heavy-body acrylics that wouldn't fade for centuries, and some painting tools to at least repair some of the artwork in the monastery, even if he wasn't very good at it. As for Todd himself, he was a nine-tailed kitsune with the fur pattern of a red fox, but one with a pure heart and someone anyone could talk to. Todd then began to mix his acrylic paints to match the colors of the icons that had faded over the years and began to flake off. And he started with the icon of Victor's first spiritual father, St. Nicholas, the founder of the monastery. But because so much of the icon had flaked off, what was once beside Nicholas was no longer recognizable, and the second name was no longer readable. So Todd painted Victor there with the icon had flaked off and let it dry within minutes. Todd then spent the next few hours with his restoration project, even if his skill level was nowhere close to the iconographers that first created the beautiful imagery. But even if Todd's skill was not close, his heart was fully in it. And that's when he noticed Victor on the floor of the sanctuary, still prostrate as his joints ached from so many prostrations on the cracked marble floor. But not knowing what his spiritual father was doing, Todd rushed to pick him up and give him rest. But Victor was restless and demanded to be let back to what he was doing. But before Victor could return to making prostrations, he saw what Todd did to many of the icons, and it almost filled him with so much rage he wanted to slap Todd across the muzzle. But while restraining his anger, Victor asked, "Todd, why have you vandalized the holy images of this holy place with your terrible painting? Have you lost all respect for this monastery and now serve Inari?" But rather than argue, Todd looked at his spiritual father, regretting that he had even made the effort to restore the monastery, even in the smallest way. Todd then said, "If you call putting myself to restoring this monastery when no one else would, serving Inari, and vandalism, then I question your ability to see what's around you." Victor then realized his own lack of gratitude and calmed down before saying, "Please forgive me. I didn't know you were trying to restore the monastery." Todd then saw the heaviness of Victor's heart and asked, "So, what seems to be bothering you? I don't need a theoretic to tell something's bothering you." Victor then thought for a moment to best describe what he was feeling and answered, "I blame myself for what happened to our clan, and I feel as if you and Vixer are the only genuine Christians left here. I was not here when our clan decayed into its former decadence, in the age when we served Okami Inari. I was not here when the clan needed me the most. Yet somehow, things are worse now than then. Because at least then we had some sense of culture and values, of purity, honor, and sincerity. Now all that's left is consumerism, and people so conditioned for consumption. Whatever is left of them is merely an empty husk. Even if I'm to practice all asceticism and all virtues, how will these people even understand it, feeling as if they need nothing while they are blind to their own nakedness? How can willing the good of other people be taught to people so obsessed with self-indulgence and vanity? How can our people be taught to be holy when all they know is profane commodity? As far as I see it, dark magic is the least of our clan's worries. And out of all the people God could have brought to fulfill the task of re-enlightening the Kitsune clan, why pick me, who is probably the worst person for this? I don't even know where to start or if I'm even able to do anything about it now. So I feel lost and don't know what to do. I can't say I have an answer for all those things, but even if you don't think too highly of yourself, I know first Paulhand how every mention of your name strikes fear into the priests and priestesses of Okami Inari, almost as he who must not be named. Then again, it still baffles me why they'd be terrified of you when you're the least threatening person I know, and have never killed anyone, burned their shrines, nor did any evil against them. Seriously, all you did was just live the faith passed down to us since the apostolic age, and somehow they become terrified of you." Victor then said, "Perhaps it's not me they're afraid of, but the one I serve. I did not destroy Okami Inari and all her shrines, but the god I serve through ordinary people. Then I seem to have become the face of that. And I don't know why. All I did was turn away from my hedonistic life when I was still known by the name Inari." Todd then tilted his head curiously. "Why did you change your name from Inari to Victor at your baptism anyway? Out of all the saints you could have chosen your new name after, why did you choose that one?" Victor then looked away solemnly, reminiscing about something. "I chose that name because it means Christus Victor, the victory of Christ over sin and death. And for me, it was also the victory of Christ over Okami Inari, and his victory granted me freedom to be my true self and have a true life. And ever since then, I have never associated Okami Inari with the ways of life but the ways of death. And now it seems my sister has dug up the Inari cult from the grave, and its diseased corpses spreading throughout our clan." Todd then perked his black fox ears boldly. "If you could destroy Okami Inari once, you can do it again. And now you've got me, Vixie, and Dixie to go along with you. And while we're at it, we'll bring Gumiho to justice and stop whatever is causing this dark magic to surface. We'll save and free our clan or die trying. Blonde wolves. It was another report of the same thing. Another Gumiho incident with an eaten heart and liver out of a live kitsune. Claw and teeth marks and everything. And without Yako, Inari shuddered to think what would happen if Gumiho ever came to her residence in spite of her best no Jitsune protogym protectors. She needed a new right paw hand man until she could find someone who could truly replace Yako. So she sent out a form for many promising temporary candidates. Then a few showed up for the interview. An emotional and nubile blue sky dragonborn girl named Femsauce, a fruity anthro reindeer named Boofy, a red buff Neko wearing a Cessna 150 patch on his jacket named Mike, a yellow Shiba Inu with an ugly British accent named Dill, a gray wolf Inu wearing a cropped Yif t-shirt with a 700-pound fat Legoshi from Beastars on it named Crustman, and a blonde wolf Inu named Blondie. Inari then interviewed them with performing various tasks, like what they would do as Yako's temporary replacement. And none did so well as Blondie from Baltimore Binbo's, Pennsylvania. So Inari hired Blondie to temporarily be her right paw hand man. She also liked his trumpet playing and how all he asked for was a bag of caramel-filled chocolate marbles. When Blondie was selected, Inari had him join her in her private chambers as she said, "I hope you realize what you were selected to do. That means you'll be doing anything I ask of you within reason, whether that be just keeping me company or going after the most wanted criminals in the clan. And right now, the most wanted criminal in the clan is Gumiho. But you can worry about her after I fill you in on the details. As for now, I'd like you to just sleep in bed with me because I don't feel safe by myself with Gumiho out there, even with the best of my no Jitsune protogym protectors." But rather than listen to the details of what Inari was saying, Blondie was just eyeing her gorgeous kitsune body and fluffy tails and thinking about the fact that he was going to sleep in the same bed as her. Never mind, she was centuries older than him and not the least bit attracted to him. But Blondie didn't care. He just wanted to bury his face in her fluffy foxtails. Inari then noticed Blondie distracted and asked, "Are you listening to me?" Blondie then felt his heart pound, seeing his new master mildly irritated. Inari then continued, "Now that I have your attention, here's what I want you to do. I want you to keep me company wherever I go and hold on to me to help me feel safer sleeping tonight. Consider it a gift. Because it's not every day a young man like yourself gets to snuggle a gorgeous fox queen. If holding on to me and sleeping in my bed makes you uncomfortable, you're welcome to sleep on the floor or anywhere else in the room for that matter. But I doubt it'll be as comfy as holding on to me as I wrap you and keep you warm in my 10 fluffy tails. And if that makes you more comfortable, we're both going to be fully clothed. I can also see you're stressed and tense with me as your new master. So, how about you just lie down and I'll cuddle you and help you get used to me. I've done this with Yako, my previous right paw hand man, and I'll be doing the same with you. So lie down, won't you?" Blondie then lied down on Inari's bed as she wrapped him in her tails and played with his wolf ears. And she remained like this until she could hear his breathing slow down and feel his muscles loosen. Inari then reminisced to herself, "Even if Yako and I didn't get along much, I still miss him. I know I'm near perfection like my brother, but I still have regrets about the way I treated Yako. Did Yako really deserve all the punishment I gave him because he wasn't as perfect or successful as me? Regardless, I should be less harsh on Blondie for not being as perfect as me, as well as not being a kitsune. This is probably a once in a short life opportunity for him, so I should help him make the most of it. Inari then continued to cuddle Blondie until she realized it was already nighttime to go to sleep. So she got out of bed and changed from her expensive silk robe into her nightgown. And then she returned to cuddling Blondie, wrapping him in her fluffy tails and gently holding him in her arms. Despite Gumiho still out there, she felt safe with Blondie while Blondie felt fuzzy being held by the most gorgeous fox queen he had ever seen. And then both Blondie and Inari slept fully rested by the time they woke up. Did you know this? Acrylic paints. Although acrylic paints have not been around for very long, they are incredibly resistant to fading and theoretically capable of remaining vibrant for centuries, in much the same way as oil paints. They are also very high quality paints, especially heavy body acrylics. However, they are not a traditional paint or medium used in liturgical iconography, as most icons are painted with a special paint called egg tempera. So, although it may seem like a trivial thing that Todd is restoring icons with high quality acrylic paints as something to be angry about, Todd was actually breaking a long held tradition of iconography. So, it's easy to understand how this could be mistaken for a form of vandalism, even if the intention behind it was the purpose of restoration. Acrylic paint is also water-based, so it dries very quickly, with most acrylic paintings being completely dry within 20 to 30 minutes. Meanwhile, egg tempera paintings can take 6 months to a year to completely dry. Friar Victor's Prayer. Victor's Prayer in the Sanctuary is also loaded with references to both the Orthodox Divine Liturgy as well as the Bible. Lord have mercy on me, a sinner, is the shortened form of a very common prayer in Orthodoxy known as the Jesus Prayer, with the full length being, Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner, or in Greek, Kyrie Iisus eleison me. It's also a reference to the publican and the Pharisee, where Victor, like the publican, realizes that he only exists because of God's mercy and that it is the only thing that makes the publican righteous. Publicans/tax collectors in the New Testament were also known to be extortioners of people of lower socioeconomic status. And in much the same way, Victor would have been doing the same thing when he was known as Inari, and next in line to become image of Inari before he renounced Okami Inari and became a Christian monk. There's also the phrase Kyrie eleison, which means Christ have mercy in liturgical Greek, and is often a response to prayer intentions during the Divine Liturgy, as well as occasionally used in traditional Catholic Masses. The asking for sins to be blotted out and that a true sacrifice is a broken and contrite heart is a reference to Psalm 50 in the Old Testament, which is commonly used as a morning prayer, prayer of repentance, and a funeral prayer.